Welcome back to Arise Prime Time, where we offer perspectives on the news and talking points of the day. I'm Charles Aniegolu. Now, as Nigerians continue to question the government's efforts to contain rising levels of insecurity in the country, a BBC documentary that's been widely viewed and discussed here has come under the radar of the federal government. The documentary investigates the so-called bandit warlords of Zamfara who've terrorized residents for years in the northwest. Nigeria's information minister said the documentary glorifies terrorism and banditry and that the BBC would be penalized. But the broadcaster insisted the story was overwhelmingly in the public interest and that it stands by its journalism. So, has the BBC become a tool for terrorists, as the Nigerian government suggests, or is it reporting in the best traditions of public interest journalism? Well, for more on this, I'm joined now in the studio by the president of the Nigerian Union of Journalists, Christopher Isiguzo, and by the national security consultant and policy analyst, Group Captain Sadiq Shehu. Thank you very much indeed to both of you. Let me come to you, Group Captain Sadiq Shehu, first. What do you think of the Nigerian government's decision to go after the BBC over a documentary it made about the bandits, warlords of Zamfara state? The information minister, Lai Mohammed, says the documentary glorifies the actions of militants who are effectively terrorists.
Thank you very much. First, by way of introduction, let me say I am commenting on this issue based on my background in communications and media. I was once the public relations officer of the Nigerian Air Force, and of course, again, as a security consultant.
So you're well qualified.
Yes, issues of counter-terrorism and countering violent extremism. They also, there's a junction. I'm honored to be part of the faculty that offers a course at the European Center of Security Studies called Program on Terrorism and Security, PTSS. One module that is offered on that discipline is media and counterterrorism. Because let's look at counterterrorism itself. It is defined as military, political, economic, legal, even media. All efforts that you do to combat terrorism. So you can see the media has a role to play. Now, in this course that is being taught there, one of the elements that is taught, is to sensitize media men in such a way. It is a well-known fact.
Right. Media men and women.
And women. That for the terrorist, publicity is like oxygen. Whenever they attack, they normally go back to see how is the effect on the community in the media. In fact, if you understand, at a certain time during our conflict with Boko Haram, it's like Boko Haram, they even have, professional grade. They started with very grainy pictures. But later on, if you see their professional grade, wherever they attack, they go with...
it's the same thing with Islamic State.
Yes.
I mean, that's
so they become, because they know the effect of media. So the teaching is that, you see the terrorism itself, with respect, by virtue of news, what is newsworthy? It is something that catches the people. Terrorism affects the people. So for the media man, there is the rush to break the news. There's the rush for competing with other media houses. There is also this element of the right of the public to know. But whenever it concerns something of security or media, the teaching is that you should balance the right of the public to know with the general good.
Right.
You are reporting about people who killed innocent civilians, who kill soldiers. These are husbands, these are wives, these are brothers of other people. So the emphasis should be more on the victims of this. And again, even in advanced societies, when US was fighting its war against terrorism, there was a time that US government has to call all the social media, all the big ones, to tell them that you might come on some information. But please, sometimes, so many ways you can do
Be circumspect.
Be circumspect.
Right.
Even the choice of the words that you use, even the timing. Right. You could even delay some information and then release it later, just out of sympathy, not because that is what the terrorist wants. And the fear. So the challenge for the media one is to satisfy this aspect of the right of the public to know, and at the same time not to create fear, panic or chaos.
Those are very good points.
Yes.
And on that note, let me bring you in, because you're the president of the Nigerian Union of Journalists. One would have thought that given the rising levels of insecurity in Nigeria, especially in the north where the bandits and other militant groups operate, that the government would value this sort of film as a kind of intelligence document that enlightens both the security services and the Nigerian people about who these criminal gangs really are and the extent of the threat they pose?
Well, thank you very much for having me on this program this evening. I watched the documentary in question, and of course I've also listened and read the array of reactions that trailed the documentary. One issue comes to mind. We have a group of people who are terrorizing the country, and we are very clearly aware that the security agencies are up to task, trying to unmask these bandits and the rest of them. Now suddenly, a group of journalists from the BBC were able to have access to the warlord, so to speak. One would have been more concerned with the fact that it's becoming difficult for the security men to find out the whereabouts of this group of people.
Or at least that's what that's the impression that's given. Because we don't know what the intelligence they have.
We don't know. But as at now, if they've been able to trail these people to wherever they are, probably that guy will not be on air talking about their exploits. That's one issue we are so much concerned about. Now, he talked about the right of the people to know, and of course, the media being the oxygen. It gives life to activities of terrorists. Same way the media is the oxygen for them. The media is the oxygen of democracy. Without the media, there is no democracy. What it simply means is that the people are at the center of it all. The people want to know what is happening.
So they have a right to know.
Yes, but at the same time, there are stories you churn out there that will end up communicating fear.
Yeah, but the question is, what has this documentary done? Do you agree with the Nigerian government that, that not only is this breaking or breaching the journalism code of conduct, potentially, because they said they're still investigating, but that if the people are found to have done that sanctions will be imposed? I mean, do you stand with the BBC or with the Nigerian government on that?
Well, I stand with the Nigerian people. Neither with BBC, nor with any opinion that has been expressed from the official quarters.
Right.
The people have got the right to know. But in trying to communicate this to the people, you don't also compound the problem that is facing the Nigerian populace. There is fear across the board, there is tension, there is panic, there is chaos, and such a documentary also gives impression that these people are winning the war against the Nigerian government, against the Nigerian people. Much as you are trying to communicate and tell the people, okay, look at the situation, but you've got to weigh it properly so that as much as you're trying to inform them, you're also not going to create another phase
conflagration
of
basically.
Crisis in the system.
That's a good point. Let me bring you in, Group Captain Sadiq Shehu. You have experience in these matters. I mean, your opening statement said it all. Is it a bit fresh of the federal government to make this threat against the BBC? It's not just the BBC, there's also the Daily Trust, which is a newspaper and a sort of media organization in Nigeria here. Is it fresh of the federal government to make this threat, given that the situation in Zamfara is so bad that last month the government there asked residents to arm themselves against the militants and announced a shoot-to-kill order on anyone found using a motorcycle? And all this because the federal government has failed to protect the people there. I mean, isn't that what ought to be the central focus of the federal government? And also the fact that they seem to be learning more about who these people are.
Well, I am in between. The
Right.
action taken, right, I have emphasized, and the Mr. President here has emphasized, there is always this aspect of the right for the public. A newspaperman, a journalist can stand on that. My work is to bring something to the attention of people. He might even say, if he wants to be really this and that, I really don't care what you do. My work is to bring something to the attention of the people.
Right.
He may not have broken a law, per se, as a journalist. But then there is this issue of being responsible to the public. On the side of the government, you know, the global best practice, wherever, because this is a debate that happens in many countries when there is war, especially with military people and media. It's a love-hate relationship. Like he said, in fact, CNN, they have one saying that you do not win a war until we say you have won it. That's to say, you today, the military man or the security man, the minister is talking on the head of security, will be enemies with the press man. But today, when you have a victory also, you need the same a media man to come and say that they have captured this place, they have captured this place. So the teaching now is that when there is this conflict, is to bring the two. What works best is not punishment and sanction. What works best is, you know, engagement, so that the media do self-regulation on their own. There are countries where media are called and this are discussed, and they end up giving processes that when we have news on terrorists, for example, maybe you delay it, maybe you find clearance for it. So self-regulation, what I am saying, self-regulation rather than clamping on the media would work better.
I was going to raise this point with you because you seem to have, without sounding patronizing, progressed in your sort of evolution and perception of the media, because you've often accused the media, and I watched quite a few of your interviews, of being sensational in their coverage and tending towards the inflammatory in their reporting, even though clearly what we do is report the news and not necessarily create the news. It sounds like you don't think the media are very responsible in their coverage.
Well, when I say they are not responsible, you see everything, there's a way of improving it. I want to see what we are having with the media. I will break it into three. There are probably, with due respect, some that are doing it out of mischief. Some might be doing it as a continuation of, we all have our biases, politically, religious-wise. Some might be doing it for that. But again, there could be others that do not know, you know, the implications of some of the items that they are releasing. So this, I wouldn't all put them in the same basket. So, but whatever may be, I think organizations like the Minister of Communication, things like the National Orientation Agency, and even the military. In addition, there's a training package that I deliver at Armed Forces Command and Staff College on media and operations. And this is what I tell the officers. You need the media where you have success to broadcast. But at other times, it's a very uncomfortable relationship. You'll fight with them. So sometimes, in any case, like I said, what happens is like try and get a buy-in. Try and make them understand. In all military operations, it's not all information that is banned. Even though, with respect to my colleagues, again, they like, you know, putting everything secret. Even they might even give you, somebody joke that they will give you a wedding ceremony invitation, but under they will put secret. So it's like as if you shouldn't show anybody that kind. So there's the extreme of that. But on the other hand, you know, there's what is called critical information. Critical information. There's information that is critical. There's information that is not critical. It can go. It's not going to cause harm. So it's not all media men that will do that. You get the point? Sure. I want to believe that they are responsible people. We are all Nigerians. If the bandits they succeed in overrunning Abuja, we're all in Abuja here. So they are not only going to look for soldiers.
Well, I can assure you that we're very responsible journalists here on Arise News. Let me bring you in, Mr. President. What's your reaction to what he's just saying?
Well, I think to a very large extent, I don't disagree with him. You know, we must have a group of professionals that are responsive and they are responsible. Like he said, no matter what happens, if they overrun our system, like Abuja, for instance, with what we are seeing around, all of us are going to be affected. You know, and I can tell you that for a group of professionals, the professionals we have in the country, they are so responsible because most of our journalists here, they have access to some information that if they continue to churn them out, the country is going to be set ablaze. So they are responsible to that extent.
Right.
You know, so much as we are not saying that the people that release the documentary have broken any rules, at least the government has not said they broken any rules yet, you know. But when you have such a documentary, such story, you've got to be careful what you release. Whether you accept it or not, the nation is in dire straits, you know, across the country. We are so worried, we are so concerned. And let's not put more fear in the people. You know, much as you try to ask.
Well, I mean, I didn't see it as putting fear in the people. I saw it as enlightening the people. That the people, it's not, I mean, that the people, you're putting a human face to this thing. I mean, why are you doing this? Who are you? Where do you come from? These are fundamental questions that nobody's been able to answer.
It also gives impression that the nation's security operatives are probably not doing much.
Well, you're saying it gives the impression. Nobody's giving any, you don't need to give an impression. Most Nigerians think the security services aren't doing enough. I mean, that's a fact. You know, can I bring you in,
yes,
Group Captain Sadiq?
Yes, I will confess, I didn't watch the documentary from.
Well, I would. It's only 10 minutes long.
It's only 10
I
minutes.
would recommend that you watch it.
I will. So, but from the conversation I'm hearing, they give the version of who these bandits are, what do they do, what do they attack. Now, another teaching when you are reporting, you know, something to do with terrorism, is that the journalist, as a service to the society, as not showing support. I'm not saying you support, as not showing, you know, encouragement for the journalists. The teaching again is you pay more emphasis on the victims of those destinies. I don't know whether that documentary.
Yeah, but a huge amount of coverage, I mean, has been on the victims, probably for the simple reason that most journalists just didn't have access to the other law.
Is it in the same documentary that
No, I'm saying generally.
Okay. So what I'm saying, you see, that would have, you see, to be honest, I am divided in this something. In the first place, like I said, it is not good practice. You know, you have to put that right of public to know.
They showed the atrocities that were being committed by these people. They weren't just glorified. I mean, they showed the people they'd killed and how horrible.
With due respect, this issue, this is not the first time that the media is having clashes. This time it was with the ministry. Sometimes it is directly with the security agencies. Now, the interesting I would like to, because I follow these things, I keep track of them. Because like I say, it's intersection between security and media, which from my previous life, I am involved in all the two. The same Daily Trust, to be fair to them, I can't remember there was a time they got information about an impending attack that is going to be carried out by Nigerian security forces. This is a fact. And when they got this information, somehow the military got to know that Daily Trust, they already have information on this something. A meeting was held between the military and Daily Trust agreed to not to release that story. Yeah. It happened here in Nigeria. Yeah. So what I'm saying, sometimes when these things happen, so I could say it may not be the same journalists that did that infracted now. So continuous engagement. And when something goes, because this thing will continue. To be honest with you, you will have media, especially international media, who will stand their ground that the right for them to make the public know is there. But we don't want such a, so engagement to such a way that media houses, including Arise, including channels, including TVC, they will look at their procedures individually and say, okay, when you have a story like this, please follow and follow and follow and follow before we release. So when you get that censorship, it is better than saying you will clamp down on this, you will clamp down on that, you will clamp down.
So basically the sum of what you've said is communication between the government and the media,
even the security agencies
and so on. I want to thank you very much indeed, Group Captain Sadiq Shehu, National Security Consultant and Policy Analyst, and of course the President of the Nigerian Union of Journalists, Christopher Isiguzo. Thank you very much.